He overheard my friend mocking him and revealing that the kid isn't his. He got his revenge days later. I am a 30-year female who is married to a 41-year male. I have a daughter who is 7 years old. Unfortunately, on my 30th birthday, my life turned into a suspenseful and thriller drama which I had not imagined. My husband got to know some earth-shattering facts about our marriage, which led to a drastic turn of events in my life. For my own sanity and security, let me just address my lover and my husband as just that. It is easier that way than to think of made-up names and try to keep up with it. This way, I can avoid any potential slip-ups or confusion in this long rant that I don't want to get carried away with. I can also ensure that my thoughts and feelings are accurately conveyed without any added complications. It also helps me stay focused on the message I want to communicate without distractions. Nicole was my best friend since high school. We had been inseparable since then and had done a lot of idiotic things together. I had called her over since my husband was away and my daughter was having a sleepover at her grandparents' house. Me and Nicole were chilling at home, having drinks and discussing all the shit that we had been through since high school. We recollected all the stupid and crazy things that we had been through all these years. I am not sure if it was the alcohol or the fact that we had a lot of time on our hands to discuss things that we hadn't spoken about in a really long time. We were having a lot of fun as there were things that we both had almost forgotten about. It was a nostalgic trip down memory lane, reminiscing about the good old days and laughing at our past antics. It felt like a much-needed break from our busy lives, allowing us to reconnect and bond over shared experiences. Nicole told me how I had frantically called her when I got to know about my pregnancy with a doubt. That it might not be my husband's, which later turned out to be true. My husband had no idea that I cheated on him and got pregnant. My bestie Nicole was the only one who knew about my affair and my pregnancy, as she always covered for me every time I was with my lover. Nicole was my rock throughout the entire ordeal, offering me emotional support and guidance when I needed it most. I knew I could always count on her to keep my secrets safe and provide a listening ear during my moments of uncertainty. My husband had planned a big, extensive surprise for my 30th birthday and I was super excited for it. I had overheard him saying that he wanted it to be of enormous shock value. It was very difficult for me to put up a straight face throughout the week, knowing that I would probably be getting a huge surprise that I had been looking forward to. I started dropping hints of what I would want as a gift so that everything falls into perfect place. The big day finally arrived and I was super hyped. It started with bed coffee that my husband had prepared for me. It was delicious and moreover, I loved the way he took an extra effort to decorate and make it look more romantic. I could already see the level of effort he had put into making this the most special day of my life. As I sipped on the coffee, I couldn't help but feel overwhelmed with gratitude for having such a thoughtful partner. The day was off to a perfect start, setting the tone for what was sure to be an unforgettable celebration. I made a mental note that I should demand something on the similar lines from my boyfriend. When I meet him next week to celebrate my birthday, the evening arrived and I was sent a note asking me to go to a private designer to get dressed for the event. This was something that I wasn't expecting at all. I got there and was pampered like a queen, making sure that I was dressed for the occasion. The designer had picked out a stunning gown that fit me perfectly, and I felt like royalty as I stepped out for the evening event. The attention to detail and care taken in preparing me for the occasion made me feel truly special and grateful for the experience. I was asked to wait for more notes with instructions to enjoy the night to the fullest. I couldn't help thinking what more could possibly top this up. I was finally sent a note telling me that a car was waiting to take me to my destination. It was a limo with champagne and snacks to accompany it. I was more than pleased with my husband to take all this effort into making my birthday into a royal event. I went in and was amazed at the decor and the arrangements. It looked like a wedding and not just a birthday party. I could see close friends and family and also a few work colleagues that had made it to the party. I saw my husband on the stage announcing my entrance. Everyone had their eyes on me and I could see that they were blown away by my look. I saw Nicole up front who gave me a reassuring look that translated into me looking super hot. I walked onto the stage as instructed and was seated at the center. There was a presentation with a trip down memory lane about how we met, got into a relationship, snippets of our marriage, and then my journey through pregnancy and, finally, giving birth. It continued with our first days with our daughter and I was already teary-eyed, looking at the amount of effort that my husband had put into making sure that this could be the most memorable day of my life. I couldn't control myself, so I ran up to him and embraced him into my arms. He said that there was more to come and that I should save my emotions for later. I couldn't even imagine what more he could possibly have planned to top this. Nevertheless, I knew that it would be something overwhelming. I kissed my daughter, who was also a part of the planning with my husband, and took my seat as requested by my husband. I was blindfolded and asked to sit on the stage where everyone could see me. I was waiting for something to happen. I could feel something near my lips and I thought that he was just trying to kiss me, so I kissed him back. My blindfold was pulled out and I saw my lover, the father of my daughter, in front of me, kissing me passionately. My husband was standing in the corner and just chilling, witnessing everything as if he knew. He started announcing that he would like to properly introduce the person, kissing his wife to everyone who looked confused. He said to give a big applause for the guy who was the father of his wife's daughter. He was the one who had given her the joy of being a mother. My face dropped and turned pale. I realized at that moment that my secret affair had been exposed, and the consequences of my actions were about to unfold in front of everyone. The room fell silent as the truth sank in, and I knew that my life would never be the same again. I could not utter a single word from my mouth as I was too shocked to speak. All eyes were on me, and I knew at that moment that all this build-up from the past week was just to humiliate me in front of all the people I've known through my life. My heart was pounding in my chest as I tried to gather my thoughts and find a way to respond. The weight of the situation felt suffocating, and I could feel the heat rising to my cheeks as I searched for a way out. My husband then said that he was so naive and blinded by trust that he never once thought that his wife would cheat on him. The day when I had Nicole over, he came home early to surprise me, but we were so engrossed in our conversation that we hadn't realized that my husband had sneaked in that day and heard my entire conversation with Nicole. I had no idea about it, and once he revealed that he knew the truth about my cheating behavior and my friend helping me out all the time, that is when he decided that he needed to teach me a lesson. I had not seen it coming at all. I tried to look for Nicole in the crowd, but I was unable to locate her as my eyes were blurry due to the tears rolling down. I saw my daughter sobbing and holding my husband close to her, as if asking him to protect her from me. I felt a sudden disgust towards myself at that moment. I realized that my actions had caused pain to those I loved the most. The weight of my mistakes hit me like a ton of bricks, and I knew I needed to make things right. My husband then went ahead and told me that I was such a shameless mother that I had cut a deal with my lover to continue the affair if he had nothing to do with our daughter. I was willing to sacrifice my own daughter for my happiness and continue lying and cheating to my husband about our daughter. I was shocked and hurt by his accusations as they were completely true. I did not want to leave my boyfriend and even agreed to lie to my husband about it being his child just to continue my affair. I could see the disgusted look on everyone's face and the judgment in their eyes. My family was shattered and devastated by the revelations. I knew that it would be very difficult for me to try and make them understand everything. I knew that I had nothing to say in my defense, as my husband had never been bad to me. Apart from the fact that I needed sexual pleasure, I did not have any issues in my married life. He adored my daughter as his own, and not once did he ever doubt him not being the father. I was filled with guilt and shame for betraying their trust, but I also knew that I had to be honest about my needs and desires. It was a difficult conversation to have, but I hoped that with time they would come to understand and forgive me. The party ended and everyone started leaving. My husband told me that I could leave with my boyfriend as there was no place for such a selfish person in his house. He wanted to keep me away from our daughter as he didn't want me to take advantage of her anymore. I was just sitting on the chair, still processing everything that had happened. I couldn't believe that a small trip down memory lane would lead to such a disastrous turn of events and my life would turn upside down. After a really long time, I looked around and couldn't find anyone. I tried calling Nicole and my lover, who were both ignoring my calls. I made my way to a nearby motel and stayed the night over. The next morning I tried reaching my lover, who finally picked up after 2 hours of trying to reach him. He told me that I had caused him such inconvenience, and the only reason he continued to have this affair was because the fact that we had a daughter would remain a secret forever, now that it was out in the open. He wanted nothing to do with me and cut all ties immediately. I tried calling Nicole as I knew that she would be the one person who would understand me. She kept declining my calls, which made me question our friendship. She was the only one who knew the truth about my pregnancy and my daughter's real father. She sent me a text saying that it would be difficult for her to help me right now as her husband had started having trust issues. Once things are a bit under control, she would definitely get in touch with me. At this moment, I understood that I was left completely alone to deal with the mess that I had created in my own life. I realized that no one else could fix the situation for me, and that I needed to take responsibility for my actions and make things right on my own. It was a sobering realization, but also a necessary one for me to grow and learn from my mistakes. So here I am writing this post to feel a bit better and get some clarity in life. Maybe doing this will help me think of everything that went wrong and make good decisions going forward. I would request people reading this post not to judge me and give any constructive advice, if possible, about how I should deal with this situation. Update. Since many people wanted to know how things worked out, here's a short update of the events that followed. I was devastated as I couldn't sleep for nights, as every time I closed my eyes, I could clearly see the disgust that my daughter had in her eyes for me. I would go to her school and wait every day so that I could get a glance of her and try to talk to her. She would always avoid me and walk past as if I were a stranger. I felt like a complete failure as a parent, unable to mend the broken relationship with my own child. The pain of rejection was unbearable, but I knew I had to keep trying to make things right. I had an idea that maybe making up with my husband would help me reconcile my relationship with my daughter. I might not have been a very good wife, but I truly loved my daughter and couldn't stand her indifference towards me. I knew that the longer I waited, the more distant she would get from me. I decided to take the first step and reach out to my husband to start mending our relationship. I hoped that by showing my daughter that I was capable of making amends, she would see me in a different light and be willing to reconnect with me. I made my way to the house where my husband had moved in with our daughter. My mother-in-law was helping him take care of our daughter since she was too young and still needed someone to look after her. I knew that having a conversation in front of her would be futile, as she never liked me from the very beginning. I texted my husband that I needed to discuss a few things regarding our daughter, and that I would be waiting in a nearby cafe for him. I knew that this could be the only way I could convince him to meet me. After about 30 minutes, he showed up. I ordered his favorite coffee and asked him to take a seat. He looked disinterested and asked me to get to the point. I started by asking him if our daughter was okay, and if she was doing okay at school. He told me that he was taking care of it and I should stick to what I had come to say. I took a deep breath and started my pitch of starting over. I told him that our daughter was too young for her to go through all of this unnecessary stress. Maybe we could work something out and make a fresh start as a family. I emphasized the importance of our daughter's well-being and how it was crucial for us to put aside our differences for her sake. I suggested seeking counseling or mediation to find a solution that would benefit all of us. He started laughing after listening to my 10-minute-long monologue. He said that he already knew that I never cared about this marriage or this relationship, so I should stop trying to fool him anymore. He asked me to quit the act of wanting to be a wife and a mother and start over. He told me that my ego was actually hurt, seeing how my own daughter wanted nothing to do with me. He suggested that I seek help to work through my issues and become a better person. His words cut deep, making me realize the impact of my actions on those around me. He told me that he now knows me in and out, and has every reason not to trust me even for a second. There was no way that he could keep his daughter away from him. This had made me lose all my cool, and I reminded him that she was not biologically his daughter, and that there was no way that he could keep me, his biological mother, away from her. He told me that he would fight with all his might to make sure that I stayed away from her saying this. He left in a very angry mood, and I was pissed at the way he spoke to me. Just like that, I don't know how my effort to go and reconcile turned out into an ego challenge where we both were adamant on seeing who gets to keep our daughter. It was a heartbreaking situation that escalated quickly, leaving us both feeling hurt and misunderstood. Despite our differences, I still hoped that we could find a way to prioritize our daughter's well-being above all else. I was sent a court notice for divorce, which I was expecting. Along with it, I also received a custody trial paper from my daughter. I somehow knew that I would not be winning the divorce case to reconcile. I at least wanted to win custody of my daughter and show my husband that no matter how hard he tried, I was still her biological mother. As expected, I lost the divorce case with zero alimony due to my infidelity. I was kind of prepared for this outcome, so it did not shock me so much. The court trial started for custody. It was a messy affair. There were allegations flying around about me hiding the fact that I was aware right from my pregnancy that this baby did not belong to my husband, and I still continued to fool him all these years. Emotions ran high as the truth came out in court, with both sides presenting evidence to support their claims. The judge's decision would ultimately determine the future of the child caught in the middle of this tumultuous situation. My husband had submitted proof that I was an irresponsible mother who left her daughter regularly at her grandparents' place to meet with her lover. There was no reason for me to get custody, as my husband was still taking care of my daughter's expenses and livelihood, even after knowing that she was not his daughter. This shows that he is a responsible parent, and also the kid is more comfortable staying with him. I had no source of income or a decent place to live with a child, so I could not be entrusted with a child. What if I run away with my lover, leaving my daughter alone at home? I did not have anything to counter it apart from the fact that I loved my daughter and she was biologically mine. At the end of the trial, I was devastated as the judge and jury deemed me unfit to take care of my own daughter. The verdict was that love alone is not always enough to provide a stable and secure environment for a child. It is important to consider the well-being and best interests of the child above all else. Seeking legal advice and discussing custody arrangements may be necessary in this situation. My lover, who was the biological father, had disagreed with taking care of me and my daughter, as I had never asked him to take charge of being the father. There was a recording that he played where I was boasting about how I fooled my husband and he would never have to worry about taking care of my daughter as long as my husband stays in the dark. That was the only reason he had continued to have an affair with me, as he never wanted to be a father. I knew that this would paint a very negative picture against me, showing that I never cared about my daughter's well-being even before she was born. It exactly played out the way that I did not want to. I was broken after the betrayal. I had no one I could share my feelings with. My lover had left me, stating that I had suddenly become too clingy and too needy. He wanted no strings attached, and now I was dragging him into my own mess, wanting him to be the father that he never wanted to be. He wanted nothing to do with all of this mess and asked me to stay away from him. I felt lost and abandoned, with no one to turn to for comfort or support. The pain of rejection was overwhelming, and I struggled to find a way to heal from the heartbreak. I tried reaching out to Nicole for some comfort, but she started ignoring me. She later sent me a text stating that her husband had warned her to stay away from me as I was in trouble. They had been having trust issues ever since my affair was brought into light. She told me that she was very sorry for not being there for me, but she had no other choice if she wanted to save her own relationship. I was hurt by her response, but I understood that she needed to prioritize her marriage. It was a difficult situation for both of us, but I respected her decision to focus on repairing her relationship with her husband. I did not want to cause problems in anyone else's life anymore. Right now, all I feel is lonely, guilty, and depressed with my life. I constantly find myself questioning my decisions and feeling overwhelmed by the weight of my emotions. It's hard to see a way out of this darkness, but I know I need to find a way to heal and move forward. I have to try and be strong and try to make amends with my daughter so that slowly but surely I strengthen my relationship with my daughter. I need to seek help and support from loved ones or a therapist to work through these feelings and find healthier coping mechanisms. Taking small steps towards self-care and forgiveness can help me gradually rebuild my sense of self-worth and connection with others. Thank you everyone for being a part of my journey so far. I know I am to blame for my downfall, and I am aware of all the consequences for my actions. I do not want any more hate or suggestions telling me that I deserve all of it. I am taking responsibility for my mistakes and working towards making things right. Your support and understanding mean the world to me as I strive to grow and learn from this experience.